So let's start with the discussion. As you all know that majority of the UPSC aspirant, majority of the people who prepare for UPSC, they might have heard about economic survey and government budget. So many times what happens, you know that what to read. One of the important mistakes or other one of the important problem which is faced by the UPSC aspirant is that they know what to read, but they don't know how to read it. So economic survey is one such document, which is again a very bulky document, which is again you can see a very large document. Yes, Sakshi? Sakshi, can you please mute yourself? Okay. So I was telling to you that Economic Survey of India is one such document which is published by the government of India every year, one day before the government budget is presented in front of the parliament. So Economic Survey is basically a document which is published by the economic advisor of the country. And what is there in Economic Survey? Economic Survey में होता क्या है कि government का जो overall performance है of the previous year. Like every year, like अभी इस साल का जो गवर्नमेंट बजट हमारे फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने प्रेजेंट किया है, the finance minister has presented the budget on 1st of February. So that budget is actual estimation of the upcoming year's government's expenditure, government's revenue, and government's borrowing. So budget is an estimation only, but it's not necessary that each and everything is achieved. Each and every target is achieved in the government budget. मतलब जो government budget जो बताता है वो आने वाले साल का, upcoming years government's the target, like what is going to be the government's expenditure target, what is going to be the government's revenue target, and if the revenue is not sufficient as per the expenditure target, then government needs to borrow some money. So what is going to be the money the government is going to borrow, and how much money within that borrowing as well, how much money the government is going to borrow externally and how much it is going to borrow internally. Externally and internally का मतलब होता है how much money government will be borrowing from domestic market, from Indians, and if that is also not sufficient, the government also borrow externally, which is called as external borrowing. So this is what is mentioned in government budget and annual financial statement, which gets the approval of the parliament under article 114. Parliament का approval मिलता है and पूरे साल भर में government tries to implement that budget. But what happens that not all the targets of the government is achieved in that year. So before next year's budget is presented, the next year का budget present करने से पहले, government gives one document, and that document is actually the government performance of the previous year government budget. So while the Economic Survey of India is presented in front of the parliament one day before the current year present, because it helps us in understanding what was the performance of the government in previous year, previous year budget target. Now coming back to UPSC syllabus, now economic survey as well as government budget is important for two important things. One is how the questions are asked in prelims exam. That is one important thing, like what kind of questions are asked from budget and economic survey. That you need to be very clear, because when you are reading economic survey, when you are reading government budget, you need to be very clear that what I am supposed to read from this government budget and from this economic survey for prelims exam point of view, and to understand it, like economic survey में और budget में से मुझे क्या ध्यान में रखना है, what I need to focus for the upcoming prelims exam. So you will understand it by going through last 4 to 5 years previous year question paper. The question will not be repeated again, but as I always say, that questions gives you an idea. Question gives you the reference. That what to focus while reading the economic survey. So I will be referring few, like 2 or 3 questions from the prelims exam, and I will be also referring 2 or 3 questions for mains exam, that what you are supposed to study in mains exam. So in mains exam, there are 5 to 6 points in the mains exam related to economics. GS paper 3, the first topic of the GS paper 3 mains exam is Indian economy and challenges there. So what from government budget and what from economic survey you will get point. मतलब ये जो पहला जो topic है GS paper 3 का Indian economy and the challenges therein. So when you are studying the budget and when you are going through the economic survey, you come to know that what are the current challenges in front of the Indian economy, like macroeconomic challenges. And second, what is economic planning? What are the issues related to economic planning? Second topic of GS paper 3 is issues related to economic planning. Third is mobilization of resources. This is one topic. Mobilization of resources like material resources, human resources, and capital resources. This is the third topic. Issues related to mobilization of resources. Third topic is growth, that economic growth, then development and employment. So these are the three topics in the GS paper 3. Then next topic is inclusive growth, and last topic is government budget. So when you are studying for mains exam for GS paper 3, especially economy, you have to study these four important topics. One is you need to study what is the type of Indian economy, what are the challenges in front of the Indian economy currently, right? Because every time the challenges changes. So what are the current challenges of the Indian economy? That's what you need to know. Third important topic, what are the issues associated with the mobilization of the resources in India? You need to understand what is economic. Can you please mute yourself? Okay, thank you. So in GS paper 2, third topic is growth, development, and employment. Growth means what is, you need to know. In basic, you need to know what is growth. You need to know what is development and what is linked between growth and development and employment. Fourth important topic, that you need to know what is the inclusive growth and how this year's government budget is trying to have the inclusive growth. That's what you need to know. So government budget to last major topic diya gaya hai in GS paper. That is basically the government budget is a process through which the challenges in front of the Indian economy are addressed, through which the challenges in front of the economic planning is also addressed. Then if the growth is not there, how the economic growth is recovered back, how the government is trying to have the economic growth by its various policies, and what are the developmental activities that are carried by the government, how the government is trying to increase the employment, and how government is trying to have the inclusive growth. That's what you can come to know by studying and reading the government budget. So basically what you need to focus in government budget every year, that how the government is trying to address the current economic challenges, how government is trying to through its policies in the government budget, because government budget is basically called as fiscal policies. What is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is a policy where the government tries to raise the revenue, government tries to raise the taxes or decrease the taxes, and governments try to increase the revenue from taxes and non-taxes revenue sources. In basics of Indian economy, you see that there are two types of taxes: direct taxes, indirect taxes. The government tries to have some reforms in taxation system, both reforms in direct taxes and both reforms in indirect taxes. Then government also tries to rationalize the expenditure. Like government decides the priorities, like where government needs to spend the money, whether they need to spend money on infrastructure, whether they need to spend money on social capital, whether they need to spend money on subsidies, whether the government wants to spend money on welfare policies, or whether government wants to spend money on war or defense technology, etc. Uske alawa, one more important thing is there in fiscal policy, that if the money is not sufficient, how much money government can borrow, how much money government can borrow internally, and how much money government can borrow externally, that is also given in government budget. So with respect to borrowing, there is one law, there is one act passed into the parliament in 2002, that is called Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. So as per that FRBM Act, as per that Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, government has certain limitation, government has certain restriction, that how much money can be borrowed by the government, right? So when you are studying the government budget, you need to keep in mind that where the government is raising the taxes, if government has introduced any new taxes, if government has introduced any new tax reforms, if government is trying to increase the revenue from the taxes, or government is trying to increase the revenues from non-taxes revenues, like non-taxes revenue sources like disinvestment, auctioning of the resources, or selling of the public sector undertakings, shares or penalty, etc. So whether the government is trying to increase the revenue this year from non-tax revenue, or they are trying to increase the taxes from taxes. And within taxes again, whether the government is trying to increase the revenue from direct taxes or whether it is trying to revenue the taxes from indirect taxes. That's what you need to know. And in expenditure part, where the government is spending more money, whether the government is spending more money on welfare policies or whether the government is spending more money on planned expenditure or revenue expenditure, right? Like revenue expenditure like salaries of the government employees, or whether it is giving subsidies to the people, whether the government is spending more money on disaster or other activities. That's what you need to do. So this is what you need to focus while studying the government budget. Now coming back to economic survey. Now what you need to study the economic survey. Economic survey helps us in understanding the government performance last year. But economic survey do not give you only the information of the performance of the government budget only last year. It gives the data, it gives the information about the overall economic performance in the last decade. मतलब पिछले 10 साल में इंडिया का इकोनॉमी का क्या प्रोग्रेस हुआ है. That's what information is given in economic survey. So what should be the sources for studying the government budget and economic survey? That's the most important thing. How to read economic survey? I'm going to just help you कि economic survey में से क्या पढ़ना है, उसमें से prelims point of view में क्या पढ़ना है और mains point of view में से आपको क्या पढ़ना और कैसे पढ़ना है. That's what I'll explain to you, and then we will go to the this year's government budget. Now let me show you the sources, the online sources which you can refer for for budget. This is the important thing. Okay, can you all see this website on your screen? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the official website of Economic Survey 2023. So here you can get the PDF of this year's economic survey, and in this economic survey every year, पिछले 2-3 सालों से government was publishing 2 volumes of the economic survey, but I think this year they have published only 1 volume of the economic survey. So that's what you can see. You can download this here. What are the chapters then in this economic survey that you can see? Chapters से आपको पता चल जाएगा कि how this is useful for you for the mains exam point of view. So here you can see the first chapter of the economic survey is the state of the economy 22-23. मतलब पिछले साल का state of the economy क्या था? State of the economy में हम देखते हैं what is the economic growth of the country previous year, what is the GDP growth rate, what is the total GDP produced in 2022-23, what is the inflation rate, what was sectorial performance, like what was the performance in the agriculture sector, what was the performance in the manufacturing sector, what was the performance of the Indian economy in the service sector, how much import we have done, how much export we have done, what is the current account deficit of the economy, what is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit मतलब how much money we borrowed last year for fulfilling our expenditure, and उसके अलावा you will also come to know what are the challenges in front of the economy currently, like unemployment or the other challenges which the economy is facing. That's what you can come to know. So the first chapter, that is state of the economy 22-23, will be useful for you. The first topic of GS paper 3. All of you write it down. Those who are going to appear this year's prelims exam, and those who are expecting to qualify prelims, and those who want to make notes for mains exam के लिए अगर आपको notes बनाना है, the best source for the first topic of the Indian economy, that is Indian economy and challenges therein, you will get it from this first chapter of the economic survey. I will be explaining it in detail again, but ये आपको ध्यान में रखना है. Write it down. अगर आपके पास में, if you have the syllabus of GS paper 3, if you want to know what should be the source for the first topic of the GS paper 3, the best source is the first chapter of the economic survey, that is state of the economy. Second is, अब यहाँ पर अगर हम देखेंगे, in this state of the economy, every chapter is so you can see the recovery. So as per the economic survey, due to the disruption created by the pandemic, due to the disruption created by the Russia-Ukraine war, due to the disruption created due to certain policies of the government, earlier policies like demonetization, 40 GST implementation, etc. तो इंडिया का economic growth rate क्या हो गया था? Decelerate हो गया था. Like before 2017, the Indian economy was growing at a rate of 8 to 8.5% per annum. But due to certain policies and as well as due to certain international global events and the pandemic like corona, India's economic growth rate has been decelerated. So as per the economic survey, first जो economic chapter है, as per the recovery is complete. मतलब हमारा जो economic growth rate जो कम हो गया था, उसको recover करने की कोशिश की जा रही थी गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा. So that is complete. That's what the economic survey says. Now again remember, This economic survey is a document published by the government officer. It is published by the economic advisor of the government. So everything which has been given in economic survey will be positive. Economic survey में कोई भी चीज negative नहीं होगी. Economic survey will always say that कि India's economy is in the good shape. Indian economy में these challenges are there. But again, government उन challenges को address करने के लिए ये कोशिश कर रहा है और वो कोशिश कामयाब हो रही है. ऐसा ही picture उसमें रहेगा. So there will be, again a good picture of the Indian economy will be showcased. But आपको just challenges आपको पता चल जाएंगे by economic survey. That's what we need to know. So first topic is, as per the first topic, India's economic recovery is complete. So how the Indian economic recovery is completed and what are the still challenges in front of the Indian recovery path, that you can come to know in the first chapter, and that will be useful for you in GS paper 3, first topic, that is state of the Indian economy. Second topic, as I told you, in GS paper 3, the second topic is growth, development and employment. So you will come to know what is the India's medium term growth outlook. मतलब आने वाले 5-6 साल में medium term का मतलब क्या होता है? So there are two types of growth outlook. One is short term growth. Short term growth मतलब this year. इस साल का इंडिया का इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ रेट क्या होगा? That is the short term growth. मीडियम टर्म होता है आने वाले 5-6 साल में इंडिया का इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ आउटलुक क्या होगा? This and long term मतलब if you want to look at the economic growth like 2047, like we have a target like 2047 we want to be a 40 trillion economy by 2040. Like short term growth हमारा क्या है कि इस साल का जो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ रेट है as per the budget we are trying to have the economic growth rate at 6.5%. मतलब इस साल हम हमारी इकोनॉमी में 6.5% एडिशनल जीडीपी ऐड करना चाहते हैं. So this is a short term goal, but we also have a medium term goal. What is that medium term goal? That we want to become a 5 trillion economy. All of you know India want to become a 5 trillion economy in upcoming 4 to 5 years. So how this medium term growth, how we are going to become a 5 trillion economy in upcoming 4 to 5 years, and what government is doing with respect to that, that is what is explained here. So India's medium term growth outlook with optimism and hope. As you all know कि इंडिया ने ये जो 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी का जो टारगेट रखा था, that was the target before the pandemic, before the corona, the pandemic started. उससे पहले हमने वो टारगेट रखा था, we wanted to become a 5 trillion economy by 2040, 2024. बट उसके वजह से वो जो हमारा जो टारगेट था या हमारा जो we wanted to become a 5 trillion economy, उसमें कुछ impediments आए. लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ये कहना है but still we have some optimism, we have that hope that India can become a 5 trillion economy in near future. So this is the medium term growth. So remember what is the short term growth as this economic survey. Short term growth is that we want to increase our economic growth rate this year by 6.5%. तो इंडिया का इस साल का जो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ रेट का जो टारगेट होगा वो 6.5%. मीडियम टर्म टारगेट है 5 trillion economy. Long term target जो है that is India want to become a 40 trillion economy by 2047, that is at the 100 years of independence. तो ये मीडियम टर्म का ग्रोथ कैसे अचीव किया जाने वाला है, that is explained in GS paper, sorry, in this second chapter of the economic survey. So this chapter will be useful for you for GS paper 3 topic, growth, development and employment. Clear? Now third is fiscal development and revenue relief. Third, GS paper 3, last topic, that is government budget. So what are the fiscal development and revenue relief? Revenue relief का मतलब anyone knows what is the meaning of revenue relief? Those who were attending my newspaper classes regularly, they have come across this term. इस साल का जो टोटल रेवेन्यू का जो सिचुएशन था इंडिया का वो क्या था? रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन इंडिया का बढ़ गया है या इंडिया का रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन घट गया था लास्ट ईयर? Like when we reading the newspaper continuously, there used to be some news in the newspaper कि गवर्नमेंट का रेवेन्यू टैक्सेस कलेक्शन जो टारगेट था उससे ज्यादा हो गया, उससे कम हो गया, बढ़ गया सर, बढ़ गया था. लाइक तो दैट इज व्हाट इज मेंशन्ड हियर. तो रेवेन्यू रिलीज का मतलब है कि गवर्नमेंट का जो टैक्स कलेक्शन है वो इस बार बढ़ गया है. अब उस समय में हमने ये भी देखा था कि गवर्नमेंट का टैक्स कलेक्शन बढ़ गया बट एक्सपेंडिचर कम हो गया. ठीक है. सो जस्ट फिस्कल डेवलपमेंट में वन ऑफ द इम्पोर्टेंट अचीवमेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट लास्ट ईयर, दैट इज इंक्रीज इन द टैक्स कलेक्शन. मतलब जो लास्ट ईयर का जो बजटेड एस्टिमेट था कि लास्ट ईयर हमें ये इनकम इतना टैक्स मिलेगा, उससे कई गुना ज्यादा टैक्स गवर्नमेंट को मिला है. Anyone knows what was the reason that why the tax collection was more than the budgeted estimate? मतलब लास्ट ईयर का जो बजट में हमने जो एस्टिमेशन किया था कि इतना टैक्स कलेक्शन होगा, लेकिन उससे ज्यादा टैक्स कलेक्ट होगा, उसका रीजन क्या था? एनी आइडिया?
Inflation, sir.
Inflation. So how inflation was responsible for more tax collection? सृष्टि,
सर इन्फ्लेशन से प्राइसेस बढ़ जाते हैं जिससे टैक्स ज्यादा पे करना पड़ता है.
right? So when inflation increases, when the prices of the goods and services increases, then you know of course the tax collection also increase. तो last year का जो tax collection जो increase हुआ था, अब हमें ये देखना है कि tax collection जब बढ़ गया तो whether the direct taxes have increased or whether the indirect taxes have increased. That's what you need to know. So by reading this article, by reading this chapter, you will come to know that in which sector the taxes has been increased last year, whether the direct taxes increased or whether the indirect taxes has increased. That's what you can come to know in this chapter, that is fiscal development, revenue relish. Revenue relish का मतलब होता है increased in revenue. ठीक है. Now next is monetary management and financial intermediate. Monetary management मतलब क्या? Anyone knows? This is again a very important aspect of the economy. What is monetary management? Economy में monetary management is again a very important, you know, the aspect. Yes, Saima, what is monetary management?
It is related to money supply.
Yes. So last year का government का not monetary management कौन करता है? Is it done by the government or it is done by Reserve Bank of India?
Reserve Bank of India.
तो ये fiscal policy जो है, this fiscal policies are implemented by the government. So fiscal development में ये हो गया. Fiscal development में government ने कितना tax collect किया या कितना tax impose किया, that we can come to know in fiscal development. But in this chapter you come to know what is monetary management. Well, last year government ने money supply को कैसे manage किया, तो वहां पर वही होगा जो हमने न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ा था. Whether government was having a expansionary monetary policy or policy. हमने बार पेपर में पढ़ा है राइट कि लास्ट ईयर गवर्नमेंट has decreased the repo rate, reverse repo rate, interest rate, or it has increased it last year. The government tried to supply more money to the economy or government tried to squeeze the money from the economy?
So squeeze the money supply in the economy.
Okay, so whatever it is, like अब इसमें last year के government last year financial year what was the monetary management, whether the RBI increased the money supply or whether the RBI decreased money supply, and what was the impact of that monetary management on on the inflation. That's what you can come to know. The next topic is prices and inflation. So how government tried to contain the prices and inflation last year, that is what is explained here. So as per government, the government was able to successfully contain the prices and inflation last year. So managing inflation was a tightrope walking. Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of this term called prices and inflation was a तो inflation को control करते हुए, like why controlling of inflation is considered as a tightrope walking? Because we know अगर हम inflation को control करेंगे तो क्या करना चाहिए? हमने बेसिक में पढ़ा था, like to contain inflation, RBI क्या करता है? What RBI does?
मनी सप्लाई कम करता है सर.
RBI मनी सप्लाई कम करता है, लेकिन जब RBI मनी सप्लाई कम करता है तो उसका एक नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट भी हो सकता है. And what is that? If the money supply decrease in the economy, it will have impact on some other macroeconomic indicator. And what is that? Do you know? अगर इकोनॉमी में मनी सप्लाई अगर कम होगा तो उसका नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट किस चीज पे हो सकता है?
मीडियम एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइज.
मीडियम एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस
क्या होगा उसको? मीडियम एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस पे उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा?
उनकी ग्रोथ नहीं होगी, उनको सप्लाई अगर मनी का कम.
Very good. So that is the ultimate problem, right? If RBI decreases the money supply, it will have impact on growth. और अगर growth के लिए money supply बढ़ाएंगे, it will have impact on inflation. So this is a tightrope walking. Like RBI and government both needs to balance like growth and inflation. मतलब RBI को last year का problem वही था कि whether the government should whether the RBI should decrease the inflation or it should allow the growth. Because अगर growth को अगर हमें बढ़ावा करना है, growth अगर increase करना है, because हमने देखा था कि इंडिया का economic growth decrease हो गया था. So increase the economic growth, we need to have enough money supply in the economy. But if the money supply in the economy was more, then it could also lead to the inflation. So how RBI and how the government tried to successfully to contain the inflation with in this tightrope walking. मतलब how both economic growth rate as well as inflation दोनों को किस तरीके से government ने handle किया है, that is what is explained. So in this chapter, prices and inflation, as per government or as per economic survey, it was a successful tightrope walking. ठीक है? Next is social infrastructure and employment. तो social infrastructure का मतलब क्या होता है? Social infrastructure का मतलब skilling the people, health condition, economy का increase करना, education, primary education, secondary education, then higher education. Social infrastructure will also include the health of the people. Social infrastructure will also include the skilling of the people. Because GS paper 3 का again topic, growth, development and employment. So how the employment is tried to be increased by the government with the help of social infrastructure, that is explained. So India ka biggest problem, biggest challenge in front of the India now is the employment. So how with the help of increasing the social infrastructure, social infrastructure ka matlab hota hai, remember, education, health and skill. These are the three important चीजें होते हैं जिसपे गवर्नमेंट खर्च करता है और इससे हमारा सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनता है और ये सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से हमारा एम्प्लॉयमेंट बनता है. सो इट इज अ बिग टेंट, ये बहुत बड़ा टेंट है, यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा पैसा खर्च करना पड़ता है. तो हाउ गवर्नमेंट ट्राई टू इंक्रीज द सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड हाउ इट इज ट्राइंग टू इंक्रीज द एम्प्लॉयमेंट, दैट इज व्हाट इज एक्सप्लेन्ड हियर इन दिस चैप्टर. नेक्स्ट इज क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड एनवायरनमेंट. अब जीएस पेपर 3 में ही अगेन टॉपिक है, आई थिंक क्लाइमेट चेंज, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, पोल्यूशन वगैरह है. सो हाउ द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज प्रिपेयरिंग टू फेस द फ्यूचर, बिकॉज वी नो geography में हमने देखा था कि the climate change is happening and because of this climate change the rain pattern, the monsoon pattern, the India's the India का जो economy है which is dependent on the monsoon, वो monsoon में ही बदलाव होते जा रहा है and that change in the monsoon is also impacting on the Indian economy. Not only Indian economy, it is also impacting the global economy. So all the countries in the world, they are trying to prepare for facing the problem, consequences of the global warming and climate change in future. As a part of that, they are trying two strategies. One is that to reduce the greenhouse gases, to reduce the pollution, to reduce those activities, those economic activities which are responsible for the global warming and climate change. And to do that, we need to adopt the technology. We need to, you can say, we need to spend extra money for cleaner and sustainable development. So how the government of India is preparing to face this problem of climate change and environment. तो environmental जो problems आने वाले फ्यूचर में, climate change जो होने वाला है, उसके लिए long term अगर हम देखेंगे, if you really want to become a developed nation by 2047, we need to have a long term plan that how we are going to have a sustainable development, how we are going to make changes in our strategies and policy to face these consequences which will be created because of the climate change and environment. That is explained in this page. Second is agriculture and food management. GS paper 3. Next topic है issues related to agriculture, food security, then supply chain management, issues related to agricultural marketing, issues related to downstream and upstream storage facilities. So how agriculture and food management is being done in India? Because last year government हमने देखा था कि one of the important जो international level में इंडिया का जो इंडेक्स आया था, that is human development index. In that human development index, it is found that कि India is one of the country in the world which is having a huge the nutritional security and food security problem. So how the government, like I always say, there is no problem of the supply, there is no problem of the production in India. Agricultural production, India is having one of the highest agricultural production in food grains. It is having one of the highest production in milk. It is having highest production in rice, wheat. The problem is about the management. So Indian agriculture and food management, we are not able to have a proper supply chain management. We are not able to have a proper food management in India. Like, we have both private as well as government system where the food grains in India is supplied. We have a public distribution system in which government procure the food grain and it is distributed to the people. We are also having the private supply chain management, like private companies are also there, private people are also there, like also Kirana stores. We also have the departmental stores like D-Mart, where also the food grain is supplied. But still there are certain problems in India with respect to the food management, which is not happening. Right? In optional history, during medieval Indian period, मैंने discuss किया था. Those who have attended my optional history class, they must be knowing that there was one sultan in medieval period who had tried to solve this problem of food supply. He tried to have a proper management. उस समय में technologies नहीं थे, इसके बावजूद भी he tried to have a proper supply chain in India. That's what you can we have to refer it. तो आप India with the help of technology, आप फिलहाल how we are trying to have or trying to address this issue of the agriculture and food management. That's what you can come to know. So now we are moving slowly. Earlier we were having a target of food security. Food security मतलब क्या? कि we were trying to give only rice and wheat to the people. But now, rather than having food security, we are moving towards nutritional security. So how we are transitioning from food security to nutritional security? मतलब क्या पहले से क्या दे रहे थे? We were giving only rice and wheat. We were giving only carbohydrates to the people through our PDS system. But now we are moving towards nutritional security. Can anybody tell me कि nutritional security को achieve करने के लिए इस साल गवर्नमेंट एक बहुत बड़े लेवल पे एक प्लान और कोई स्कीम इंप्लीमेंट कर रहा है? नॉट ओनली इंडिया, बट इट इज बीइंग इंप्लीमेंटेड एट नेशनल इंटरनेशनल लेवल. व्हाट इज दैट? लाइक लास्ट ईयर मुझे लगता है शायद इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में भी एक आर्टिकल आया था कि हाउ वी आर मूविंग फ्रॉम ओनली ईटिंग राइस एंड व्हीट, वी आर ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग बैक आवर ट्रेडिशनल फूडिंग हैबिट्स. लाइक वी आर ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग बैक आवर मिलेट्स. लाइक मिलेट्स मतलब क्या? Like we are trying to encourage the people to consume more and more millets. We are trying to encourage people, farmers to cultivate and grow more and more millets. We are also trying to create an ecosystem. We are trying to create a proper supply chain management of the millets here. So we are celebrating International Years of Millets. So why we are celebrating this International Years of Millets? Because from this is very important, and I am expecting that question can be asked to the mains exam on this particular the concept, that is we are moving from food security to nutritional security. मतलब in 1968 when we are trying to have a green revolution, जब हम हरित क्रांति कर रहे थे तो उस समय में we were just trying to increase our production. We were trying to increase rice and wheat only. उस समय में our target was to have a food security. But अभी food security नहीं है. We have achieved that target of food security. Now we are moving towards nutritional security. Apart from carbohydrates, we are also trying to become secure with respect to other nutritionals, like other nutritional values like protein, edible oil, as well as the important vitamins जो इंडिया में अवेलेबल नहीं है, उसको हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So we are transitioning from food security to nutritional security. So in this chapter, you will come to know that how the India is moving from food security to nutritional security. Clear? The question has been already asked in the mains exam, that how the nutritional transition is happening in India. Now only 1 minute is left. The session will be ended. So all of you please join back again. I will be discussing the remaining chapters of the economic survey and we will be discussing one by one. हर एक chapter में आपको कैसे पढ़ना है. Within 2 to 3 days, how you need to finish the economic survey, that I will discuss with you. Please join back again by using the same link.